going to be a very interesting call. I know Rose should be coming as well, and she'll have a very interesting perspective. Zelda, welcome. It's great to have you here.
You.
Yeah, thank you for joining in. This is great. Elle, it's awesome to see you again or know that you're here. Okay. I started the recording already because I was telling Bobbi that I saw a Dionysus come in, or Dionysus come on the meeting earlier, and Bobbi explained about who that was, and I believe that it's very relevant to today, even though it might not seem to be so, given that the topic is around witchcraft. And Bobbi's explanation around Dionysus suggests that it's very different and completely unrelated, except for I think after today we'll start to see maybe that's not quite so true. So, Bobbi, thank you so much for joining in today and
Thank
being
you.
willing to co host this uncommon conversation. And could you please re-explain to everyone who is now here and watching as well who Dionysus was, or
Uh,
Dionysus?
Dionysus, yeah, and yeah, I'm sure you can say Dionysus. I don't think that the pronunciation that I know has to be the universal one, but Dionysus is the god of wine and song, and we think of him as the god of theater, which I love that because with witchcraft, as a former actor myself, I see witchcraft as individual expression and theater as individual expression. So maybe they go very well together. And yeah, maybe there's something about Dionysus I don't remember.
Yeah,
I
well,
would have rather
Rose,
seen Hecate, but
sorry, pardon?
I would have rather had seen Hecate or Persephone or even Demeter. But yeah, those who I would associate in the Greek pantheon with witchcraft. That's who I would associate the witchiness with.
Claudio is shaking his head, or nodding his head, I should say, for shaking has a different connotation. Um, I find it so fascinating. Rose tuned in as we were talking about Dionysus, and I know that she has a lot of mythological knowledge that would be fantastic to bring in here. And Claudio, I would just love to know if there was anything that you wanted to speak into on that. And Zelda, you haven't been to these calls previously, but it's great to have you here. And I do really want this to be a conversation, not just me alone. Obviously, that's really what we're all about. So we just set the ground rules of just working nicely together so we can see when someone is unmuted. That suggests that there's something that wants to be shared. And so just really being mindful about giving everyone an opportunity to speak in the stage that we're all playing on in this space, and creating those opportunities where we actually have a place where we can be in conscious conversation that also goes to a deeper level, where now we're actually talking about the culture underneath of the conversations that are commonly happening on the streets. Now we're kind of meeting in a different kind of streets, the virtual ones.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's wonderful. And the topic itself is so huge. We can look at it in a political way, we can look at it in a feminist way, and we can look at it in an individual power way, in my opinion. I'm not sure if, yeah, anyway, yes, because we could look at it as the hunting of the women, starting with the Malleus Maleficarum, the witch's hammer, or we could look at it as individual powers were becoming so much more prevalent that a control band needed to be put upon it to control the populace or the people, and therefore actually control a little bit more, because it wasn't just women at first. It got driven into just women. Dionysus is here. That's awesome.
Right in this moment. you arrive as the call actually started by saying I'd seen your name log in and I knew it was going to be a big one because of the connections. So we've been talking about your name before you even entered into the room. So it's wonderful to have you here in our Zoom gallery today.
Thank you. I
Absolutely
assume you're
wonderful.
talking about me. I didn't hear the beginning part, but I'm guessing it's my name.
Money or my name.
My name.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it has been recorded, so I will be posting all of this onto the Peaceful Inner Warriors United channel on YouTube and also on Rumble. So if you are not subscribed to those channels, please make sure that you do so that you can stay informed about the conscious conversations that are happening in this space. And then, Bobbi, you were speaking into a very interesting point as Dionysus came in. I wondered if you wanted to run back where that track was or if we found a new one.
Sure. Do you mean the individual power part of it or the political part of it or
I like the
which
individual power part of it
the
more.
individual? Okay, groovy, because that's the one I think I'm the most passionate about because everything else is pretty sad. The individual power of it. So I am a medium and I believe myself to be a witch naturally by the definition of what they felt a witch was and what they would put the thumb screws to ladies about having to confess to. Like, wouldn't you confess to anything they said? Like, are you a man? Yes, yes, just stop doing that. That's, you'd confess to anything for goodness sakes. So that's where they get a lot of these ideas, these strange ideas of, okie dokie. First thing comes to my mind is familiars. And I don't know why that's the first thing that comes to my mind, but we can look at it in the idea of a familiar is an animal that recognizes a power within a person, which we could all look at our dogs or our cats and say they recognize a love that I am giving to them because that love is a power. So we all actually kind of have familiars. ESP, to me, that is witchcraft. That is us divining something from a higher power to bring us to a better state or to give us more knowledge than we actually have on this plane, in my opinion. As a medium, well, necromancy is what I think some people believe I am doing, but I am not. I'm not raising the dead. They're right there going, hello, we're still here and we want to tell you about some stuff. In my opinion, I'm not pulling them out of anything. I just say, I just open the window so they can hear us. I actually think that everyone can open the window. I just have the ability to open everybody's windows, where everybody has the ability to open their own windows. I believe very strongly that if people start moving into the idea that predates the witch hunts, start to move into the idea that you actually have a power within you, you can actually access the higher beings, then we can actually start to make more sense of what we know. Because as I'm talking to you guys, I'm being spoken to. So I get interrupted because they are like, no, we want you to say it this way. And that is what I do. And this subject matter and this topic is very dear to me because there's a little part of me, because I am so vocal and so out there. And I do actually speak to the air around me. That I, yeah, I don't think I'd be the first one people would go after. I think there's much more famous people than me, but still, I wear it on my sleeve. And I gotta tell you, Zelda, I love that you're part of this because you have the best witch's name. I do not have a great witch's name, but you have a groovy witch's name, which I'm sure you're aware because there's so many Zelda witches portrayed in our media. But yeah, you have a great witch's name. All right. Anyway, yeah, I'm open to questions and such because any question you guys ask will most likely be answered by someone smarter than me.
I love it. Dionysus, I see your hand up first.
Yes. I guess it wasn't a question, it was just sort of a nod of agreement. I've been working on a book, and in my book I detail a little bit about how witchcraft is simply the inverse of psychism or psychic perception. Whereas we think about psychics, we're thinking about individuals who are picking up on information that comes from an intangible realm, extrasensory perception. Whereas with witchcraft, we typically are referring to individuals who are using some sort of intangible or spiritual energy to influence a particular state of matter. So they're kind of two sides of the same coin. And so, I think, and that's just a simple way to put it. But yeah, I totally agree with what you were saying, Bobby. And just wanted to offer that perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for offering it, actually, because the other part of witchcraft and what you talk about is what a lot of people call it manifestation. Asking and is giving, believing something into your life. That's spell work, in my opinion. My opinion is actually that when you make food for people, you are creating a spell because you're taking ingredients under the idea of giving something to other people or creating something that is going to make them feel good or make them feel comfort, something to that extent. And what you feel when you do things makes all the difference in the world because our feelings are actually our true power. So I agree with you, Diane. And do you say how do you pronounce
It's
the
Dionysus. My dad named me. I think he had a little bit too much wine when he decided to name me
actual
the
name is
god of wine.
Dionysus?
Yeah.
Oh man, I have name envy because my name is Bobbi.
It's a good name.
Oh, thanks. You don't have it. Dionysus. My real name's Roberta. Yikes. So I've always thought I should just my name should reflect what I am, and I guess it kind of does because I'm a little bit like that. So I guess it does a little bit, but yeah.
Thank
Did you
you.
just say your name is Roberta?
Roberta is my real name. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Claudio is an astrologer that does natal charts, and there's a lot of power in the names as well that we choose. So there might be a conversation to be had. And Claudio, I'd love for you to be able to share a form of craft that would have been demonized in the past. And so, vernacularly, I wanted to bring that little spin onto this conversation as well, because witchcraft is normally referred to in relation to those who got burned if they didn't conform or support the norm of the times. Compared to when we actually look at the crafts that are practiced still, we see that it is a practice, firstly. And secondly, there are different categories of it. So you have law as a craft, medicine as a craft, writing as a craft, arts and crafts. People have really stepped away from my perspective from actually talking about the crafts outside of witchcraft being so demonized. You don't even want to be associated with crafts. As kids, it's okay, but as you get older, we've lost our ability, it seems, to play intimately, innocently together. As kids, we can play together, boys and girls, and sex isn't even on the table until now. Gender has made it part of the equation, that naturally we're finding relation through sex, which, as you talked about in terms of bringing all the ingredients in when you're cooking, well, that's alchemy, which is all chemistry, which is where the feelings are, those emotions that come up. And when you actually know how to channel and move the energies in motion within our form, then what we bring forward is as functional or dysfunctional as what is inside. So, Claudio, in our
Getting the
last
hell out of me, bro.
oh,
You are
okay, just a second.
nigga.
Stop.
I'm new,
Okay, I'm
bro.
so sorry. No, cancel. Okay, so John is going. I presume that was John. I didn't even see that was. See, this is why the messages don't get streamed. Dionysus is on twice. Dionysus, you were a plant. Oh no. See, this is when
No, no, I don't know what's happening. I'm only here once.
That,
And
that's yeah, that's the other guy that's having fun. See, I consider these as just a test.
so
A test to see if we stay heart-centered and just ignore it all.
this is the
Right?
real me. I don't know who that other one that's muted is not
It's
me.
got to be John back in again,
yeah, that's
whoever that
perfect.
was. Right. We love you,
Um,
man. We
Three
do
big
love you.
dick ass niggas
okay.
under
Whoa.
this tweet right here.
Dionysus, let's just get out of here. Dionysus,
Should I
you just
change my name? Should I
no, no,
change my
no,
name?
no. You keep your name.
Okay.
I submitted the
Okay.
report to report the fake one of you,
Okay.
and we'll cut out the imagery in the recap of that section. But Claudio, I love that you brought in the element of testing and how that relates to the muddy waters within us. And in the interviews that we've been doing recently, you've been talking about the tax season we're in karmically. So I wonder if you might want to put forward a perspective based on what we've already been talking about in relation to that, and we'll stem back to witchcraft specifically compared to witchcraft as a question.
Awesome. So glad to be here. This is a really exciting topic. I'm gonna start this way first. So in Italy, La Befana is the witch. And she's the one that's the exact same role as Santa Claus, except she flies around on a broom. But that is really the Phoenix Rising that does the cycle around the zodiac every 558 years, which we are upon right now. She's meeting with the sun, Eris, now for the second time at 0° Aries. You have to use the settings that are on the Egyptian walls. Currently, astrologers, I'm not judging, are 23 degrees off, so they didn't see this coming. We had it posted in May of 2019 that we're going through a corona chakra cleanse. So what are we doing? We're getting our witchcraft powers back. In other words, tying in with that divine love that gives us power. So yeah, we're now officially into the age of Aquarius, which is the forgiveness of sins, the forgiveness of sine waves, right? Sin and sine are the same word. So when a witch got burned in the stake, that would have been at their, if it's even true, it would have been in their chart. So while we're playing with these beautiful, loving energies, if we're not divinely loving, then we'll get signs, 100% signs. And there'll be signs just like the guy that just came in here. Somebody here needed to see that, to be tested, to see what they're going to do with that. Obviously, I've already replayed it and seen just some innocent pictures and all of us laughing and thanking him. So yeah, we really are in an amazing time. I've done the charts of Helena Blavatsky, Rudolf Steiner, and I'm now going to do a video on. I did a video on Helena Blavatsky, and I'm doing a video on Aleister Crowley. You got to see his chart. He's lit up, but he left due to Lilith, and Lilith is Medusa, the one that pulls your snake. Right. So Lilith in the chart, there's a confusion in astrology, which one's black moon, which one's black moon Lilith. So I won't get into that. But when we see all these things that everything's happening to us is in our chart, it's so magical. It's beautifully magical. So we always got to understand that we are the creators. We are the gods. We are the ones that create our own environment. And we're just a bunch of gods and goddesses coming together and for a common goal. And that's show the love. So I'll leave it at that. So it's a beautiful time to be revived.
This is such an amazing conversation. And I hope you who review this and us who are here now are basking in how exciting it is to be part of such a conversation as what would not be allowed in other parts of the world. And also have not been allowed in the world generally until the age of media, where we have the ability to connect in the way that we are, to have these conversations as we are, until one timeline would say that then we lose that ability because of the choices others make of selling out our power, or we carry on and take our power back in bigger ways because we create the ways and reduce the waves. And Elle, I'm just muting out your call just because we're hearing you, unless you wanted to say anything. It sounds like we might be in your pocket though.
Sorry about that.
No
I do
problem.
want to say stuff later. Well, I guess now that I have a bit of an opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm on my cell phone and I haven't done updates, so I think it's really weird for me to navigate through the screens. I can't always find the chat. I found it earlier and now it's disappeared.
Oh.
So I may be on microphone when I'm not trying to be, but this is amazing. And I'm really grateful to hear this, because born in a very strict, or I guess raised into a very strict Christian, hypocritical household, witchcraft was almost like, it was evil, and it was like the devil. You don't even talk about it. So this is a beautiful, enlightening experience. So I'm grateful, but I'll go back to being muted.
Thank you so much, Elle. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, and love having you be able to share as well. And in the comments, Dionysus said that he's actually done both the charts that Claudio had mentioned already. So very interesting synchronicity indeed. And he also mentioned sidereal astrology versus tropical astrology. So understands what you're getting at. But I thought sidereal, given that I am unfamiliar with astrology largely, it reminds me of the reels that fishers can pull fish in, or that our attention can be captured by on social media, or what we can be together when we're real. So I just thought I'd bring that little side reel into it with the wordplay of side reel.
I love your wordplay. It's so fun. But enlightening. Thank you.
They're spells, literally. Reels or relay, Rose says. Yeah, right? And this is all then about the relays of the mind and how we find it. Yeah, Rose, please.
Okay. So I've been listening, obviously, since Dionysus had come in and you'd mentioned it, and Claudio has talked about the Egyptian hieroglyphs and such. The stories of Dionysus and the Egyptian hieroglyphs and the Egyptian stories are actually all related. And as Bobbi was saying earlier, with a certain power that is within a person, there's really only one truth in the world, one light that is coming through. As Dionysus is also the tree effigy god, so is Osiris, which is begot from Ra, which is the ray of sun, which is the relay, that is the soul that is shining on our planet, a source of energy. And how it transpires to each person and what intent is the craft at which we witchcraft, and what is manifested into this world. So it is the same story that it repeats itself over and over. Even Dionysus having a crown of thorns or a crown of ivy, which is indicative of the rebirth, the phoenix rising of that of Horus, which is also the Jesus and Yeshua story. So it's all of that which is related. So again, witchcraft is the intent. And there's only one light. How do you go and push it through your body? How is it manifested into this world? What is your intent behind it? And what is good and evil but that of perspective? I've said that before. The cat is evil to the mouse, but the mouse only knows that what the cat is hunting, but the cat is doing its own job. So is it therefore evil?
I'd love to jump on that question. When a cat and a mouse does that and we see it, they're acting for us. They're giving us a message because they're infinite. We are infinite. So the observer has to say, what is the message? Because other cats sleep with mice. So they're just doing that to show us a message. The observer, us as God's goddesses, we have to observe these guidances. That's why, like you said, on the Egyptian walls, we have animal-headed figures. In the word soul in Italian is anima, animal, same word. So you just put the head on the stick. There's your L. There are soul guides. animals, insects, everything is our soul guide, and they give us signs, and I get them all the time. So like you're picking up stuff from the Akashic record, Roberta, or Bobbi Rowntree. What do you prefer to go by?
Bobbi.
Bobbi.
Yeah.
Bobbi, you're picking up those beautiful vibrations of the past. And of course, there's self-guidance systems, but the animals do the exact same thing through the Akashic. It's awesome. The dog across the street, he looks like Anubis. And the signs that he's given us, me and my wife, is incredible. Incredible, with incredible timing. So everything's being lit up, but more so us with the revelation of being able to see, right? So yeah, it's all based on the observer, and the lion will sleep with the lamb, or the wolf with the lamb, however you want to spin it. That will happen again.
It's interesting to me because and this might sound self-serving, I'm not sure, but I guess witchcraft is. But oh, and there she is. As a self-proclaimed witch, I actually have 2 black cats that have moved into the space where I do my outdoor readings. They moved in, it'll be 2 years in October. They moved in around Samhain. Yeah, they sure did. And I started feeding them when it started getting cold, and they leave me mice. And I keep asking them to not leave me mice, but they keep leaving me mice. And when Rose was talking about the mouse and the cat, and I was like, oh my God, all I can see is the mice they leave me in my doorway. So theories, are they leaving? I see them as offerings. I haven't fed them enough. That's actually how I see it. I'm like, oh, I better feed them more. They're hungry enough to kill. Or what, Rose, with the cat and mouse ideology, because I give them poop. I'm a vegetarian. I say, please don't kill on my behalf, because I wouldn't kill on your behalf. That's kind of the way I put it to them. So are they giving me an offering, or honestly, the voices in my head say, are they showing me the witch that I am?
Normally, cats leave an offering to the one that they honor. They're honoring you as a being that is giving them light. You're giving them unconditional love. So therefore, they're offering a mouse to you on your doorstep. They're also traditionally, in their head, they're also cleaning the space, right? They're also clearing the space of what they think of as a pest or a rodent.
Well, there we go. That's where I actually, because, okay, full disclosure, I believe in, yes, those of light, but I also believe of those of, I don't want to say the earth, because that would be some sort of idea that the earth in some way is inherently bad or evil or dark or difficult, but I believe in darker sources here. And a little part of me thinks that those darker sources can go into those rodents, and then my cats kill them to actually extinguish that dark source that may have been coming towards me. Does that not sound crazy? Even as I see it, it sounds crazy. But I kind of believe it, because I believe in what I can do. I believe in the magic of the world, and I do believe that we miss so very much. And Claudio, a couple of things. One, my uncle is a doctor of astrology as well. He doesn't do it like he used to. He's in his 80s now, but the utmost respect I have for what you do, and the way he explains it to me sounds so much more like the way you explain it to me. And I dare say that you would look at the weekly astrology and go, guys, come on now, it's kind of general. I think that you would understand that. Or he's there. And also, is that not the apocalypse behind you? The actual apocalypse, which is utopian?
Say more. What do you mean?
Yeah. The actual definition of the word apocalypse is a positive. It's not dystopian, it's utopian. And it's working together and being one with nature, and actually figuring out why we're here, because we're here as a collective trying to help the entire collective. That's why our connection to each other is so incredibly important. And how you treat other human beings is so incredibly important, because you're part of their collective. We're part of each other. That's why we affect each other so incredibly strongly. That's why it's so hard to watch the news, because that's your brother and your sister suffering over there. And that's all we report upon is the suffering. So we begat more suffering because we think suffering is the order of the day. That's my opinion, but I believe it's quite true. And I think that is what fueled the witch hunts, that these people, especially women, were moving into an individual power where we could heal each other, we could help each other, we could understand each other, and we could maybe live in complete harmony. Oh my gosh, living in harmony without this hierarchy idea that I must serve another human being, that I am lower than that human being. How terrifying to the powers that be. So I believe very, very strongly that that is. And boy, Dionysus, look at you coming on to something where everyone is pointing to you. Like, that's amazing. I went all over the place. I know I did because I do. So I apologize if I lost track of people or people lost track of what the heck she was talking about.
Okay,
Nobody
I
lost
think
track. Sorry.
no, great. I think it's interesting because it puts me in a self-conscious position hearing my name so much, but then it also gives me the opportunity to do what I have often done, which is just transcend my sense of self and just, view the name that I'm hearing and the history behind the name as just something detached from me. So it gives me the opportunity to practice um selflessness. So it's great.
Yeah. Or to be even see yourself as part of the God himself, which is kind of possible.
I don't know about that, but but yeah, it's just it's a good thing. I've heard my name a lot and been put on the spotlight a lot just because of a name. So yeah, it's good opportunity to transcend myself. And my son is in the 12th house, by the way, Claudio. So that sense of transcendence of ego is a lifelong lesson for me. So
Okay. Is that what the 12th house means? The transcendence of evil? I don't know the 12th house.
of ego. So the sun in astrology is simply it represents the ego, and the 12th house is considered by a lot of astrologers to be the house of transcendence, oneness, wholeness, the collective spirit, etc.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very much, yes. What an exceptional opportunity to talk about what is so uncommon, and then to even have name attachments brought into it, which is interesting, and then the duplication of the name that was in question from the beginning through an imposter that then took the best name in the house and made that his. So very symbolically significant. Claudio, I saw your hand up and down, and
Yeah. So if what I do when I get something like that, Bobbi, so the mouse came into your awareness, and the mouse has left the visible. So the black cat is showing you something, right? You got to understand that the black cat is Lilith. Lilith is temptations versus gifts. So right away, if I see something like that, I ask it for forgiveness right away, because I'm seeing somebody leave the visible while you're showing me that. And then I would go and then look it in my chart. So if you ever have that happen, mark down your date and time of that event, because it will show you, because they're all everything that happens to us is in our charts. Everything from stepping on a thorn to bumping your elbow, it's all there. And that you need the cardinal points for that, because the cardinal points go by in minutes. That's why there's a cardinal at the Vatican, because they can read the cardinal points. They understand exactly, well, if it's something that happens quick in and out, like what you saw, that's a cardinal point. So it'll be there. It will definitely be there. But I would look at ask it why, because you're saying, because the discussion is which is leaving the visible, right? You said that quite a few times about being burned and all that stuff. So the cat's showing you something. It's showing you something about that. When we leave the visible, it's in our chart. Ceres, the one with the scythe, which is Amit on the Egyptian walls. We leave when we leave. Nobody makes us leave. If somebody got burned at the stake, it's in their chart to leave. Something they're not doing, they're not in control. So you will pull yourself. Sorry, let's go. Right. So it's all, and what the Egyptian walls teach us is that we are 100% our actions. So they teach the art of transmigration, our next life. What's on the walls isn't about the afterlife. It's about the next life after. And we're upon the weighing of the heart. On January 12th, 2020, the Pluto-Saturn conjunction, which most astrologers missed, it's on the Milky Way, right? This is setting off, and then Ceres, the Sun, Mercury, Pluto, Saturn, all there on the Milky Way. That's the exact scene of the weighing of the heart ceremony on the Egyptian walls. Our heart's being tested as light as a feather. If it's as light as a feather, you graduate. I'll go to the graduation scene in a second. But if you don't, Amit eats your heart. You take yourself out, because Amit is Ceres, our individual happy reaper. We're infinite. Get over it. When you pass the weighing of the heart, you get to go sit with both Marys, Isis and Nephthys, or Virgin Mary, Mary Magdalene, and they both have your hands on your shoulders saying, and you're getting the golden feather while you sit on the throne with your crook and your flail, which is your self-harvesting tools. You're now sovereign. You're paying attention no matter what happens. Your heart is as light as a feather, because it's our actions that give us that reflection back to us through the stars, the animators of us. Okay. Right. So when you start taking everything as your reward or your lesson based on what's in our waters, emoto waters, right? If our waters are muddy when that alignment comes, it wants to shake it out to become crystal clear again. The harmonic vibration of a crystal. Yeah. So I would definitely not write that off as he's just showing you that something needs to leave and let it go. No, she's giving you a message. Cats have given me lots of messages. Lilith in the stars has given me lots of messages. I understand Lilith very well. So Dionysus to me sounds like it's Pallas in the stars, because she's communities and wine and all that stuff. That's part of communities, right? So that's just a guess on my part right now, because I've not studied Dionysus. But Persephone, Mictacawatl, White Buffalo Calf Woman, Mother Mary, Eris, Kali, all them are all the winged woman in the sky, the witch. She's the one that comes back. Nobody sees, everybody cleanses. She's the mother of God. Pluto in the stars is the dog god. Okay, he's the god. He's in manifest. The G and the D make the field. It's the yin yang. The O in the middle and the G and the D. It's a 6 and a 9, the G and the D. So Pluto goes around every 225 years. Mary goes around. Isis goes around every 558 years. She is the mother of God. You can't come in and out of these waters unless you go through the divine feminine's womb. Right. So, of course, we became a patriarchal system, which we need to now be matriarchal system, where everybody's divine feminine within takes control. We submit to that divine energy, that divine love. That's that witch that's inside. She's a loving witch. She's an absolute loving witch. Goes by many names. So we're in a beautiful time right now. It's happening in the stars. Babylon falls now. The eagle falls.
I find it very interesting that you even bring up 2020, because to me, 2020 and 2019, starting in June, then September, then November, leading up to 2020 were little periods like, get ready. We're about to give you something. And I honestly believe that the powers that be were downloading information into us, and we could feel it. We knew it. We just didn't know what the heck was going on. And a lot of people got super paranoid, started thinking it was what they see as the power that be, which is the government or something higher than you, because we don't seem to realize that everything that we see here is all humans. It's all the same. It's all us. We are the Milky Way when we die, in my opinion. But because I actually had those star moments where I'm a star again, and it actually flows in my head. I'm a star again, darn it. And I say darn it because I don't know what's behind me, but because that's actually what bugs me about being a star again. Anywho, yeah, I believe very, very, very strongly that we are very much in the middle of an enlightenment. Just the fact that you have the apocalypse behind you tickled me pink, because I still think that's what's going on. And question for you, you talk about a lot of Egyptian goddesses is in relation to our Christian ideology or construct that we have is Freya, because I actually named these two cats Freya and Frigga, who are the wives of Odin. That's why I named them that. Why? Because Freya was the first one, so she was immediately Freya, and then the other one came along and went, "Oh, where's Frigga?" Okay, then. So is she seen as tantamount to Mary?
Yes, Freya is Isis, McTuckawaddle, Mother Mary, yes, 100%. The
The
Egyptian walls is not literal. It's you in every story around the zodiac and the parts that you will play. So we left those messages for ourselves while we went through 2,000 years of Alzheimer's, spiritual Alzheimer's in the Piscean age. That's the 12th house. Two fish, two lost souls swimming in a fish bowl. It's the most amount of free will with the least amount of love. So we build up some karma, some not good karma. Of course, the good karma, but it's all in our charts.
Yeah.
You literally started bubbling or ballooning with the.
Yeah, when I do the peace sign, for some reason balloons come up. Don't ask me how that got on there.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, the Egyptian walls, we left there for us. We should be high-fiving. We made it through 2,000 years of the least amount of love. And there is no they. The government bodies are our karma.
It's us.
That's why there's going to be a jubilee. And a jubilee is what? Relieving of all debts. Well, that's happening. Everybody around the world is going after law and shutting down Babylon. But it's an individual experience because everybody's chart, whatever happens to them, is because of them. No other reason. When you see the magic of every single event in your chart, it's only you, and you're the goddess or god of your world, which we are both, right? The yin and the yang. So it's really important that we understand who we really are and that our actions are always beautiful and loving, because that will be the source, because the source, the ether, the all is pure love. It's not a being, it's just pure love. It's stillness, it's the black.
It's a perfect segue for witchcraft.
Perfect.
Absolutely perfect. Yeah, it is, because witchcraft is that feeling inside of you that you are trying to manifest into being in your life. That's what it is. I do it every day on my wood stove. I put cedar boughs in and I say, please cleanse Esmeralda. That's the name of my home. I named her in 2020. Her name is Esmeralda. Yeah, in 2020, I named her Esmeralda. In 2020, I went through an enlightenment that I thought was so amazing. Every reading I had, everything was about you're getting more psychic. Everything is about the veil being lifted. It all got so great. I was so excited. I was so excited. And then I wasn't anymore, unfortunately. People just weren't ready. They just weren't ready. And hopefully by 2025, we will be, because I actually think it's going to happen again. And I don't know if it'll happen in the same earthly way that it did, because that obviously didn't work. People freaked out. It's got to happen in a different kind of way, but it's got to happen because we're too smart now. We know enough now. We know the history. We can look at the Egyptian walls, and someone in Canada can actually see them on the internet, not have to actually even go to Egypt. We can talk to each other in a much larger way. I actually think more and more groups like this should be getting together and saying, okay, it's Tuesday. It's Tons of Love Tuesday. And everyone just goes, love. And then we just send it out like the balloons when you do the peace sign. Just send it out into the universe. And then we're doing witchcraft, and we're doing good witchcraft. And I actually wonder if any real witches were burnt. Because I'll tell you, if I knew they were coming after me, I would know they were coming after me. I would know they were coming after me before they came. Right. Because they would tell me. The people in my head would tell me. The feelings in my tummy would tell me they're coming. So I think they got a lot of people who were healers, who weren't witches, who weren't psychics, who didn't quite know what was going on. They went after the people they could. They went after the support staff. That actually just went through my head. And by support staff, I do not mean to denote or bring down. It's more that there's a lot of folks that are dealing and working with things that they don't realize they're working with.
Yes.
But they're doing good things and they're helping society, but they don't realize what they're working with. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Oh, okie dokie, groovy.
Yeah. Rose just said 2020 is repeating now in 2024, but the mirror opposite. Karmic cycles are being broken. Choice and consequences. The library was open in 2020.
Sorry, that's very RuPaul to me.
If you take the two words, Libra and Aries, because it's the station of the cross where the mother met with the sun. Revelation 12:1 happened on April 15th, 2023. Woman clothed with the sun with the moon at her feet. That's the Phoenix rising. That's why we're all gaining all this consciousness. And it's funny you said June 2019, because that's the first time she touched up against 0° Aries.
Oh.
So you felt her. So you have, right. So it's very beautiful. If somebody asks me, what are you doing? Depending on the audience, I choose different labels.
Yeah.
I follow the moon. I follow the effects of the moon on people, because nobody can argue that. If you say you're an astrologer, they may run. So if somebody says, you know, with witchcraft, I would never say I'm a witch or a warlock. I'm going to say I'm a messenger of the divine feminine. What do you mean by that? Well, you know, Mother Mary, whatever, and then start naming them all from all the different cultures. Because we got to be careful who we're speaking with, because we've got to play the fisherman and we got to reel them in.
Mm-hmm.
If we say words that make them stray away, then that's us, because we are all one, and how we got to use different bait and different words. So.
Oh,
But
agreed.
I love your vibe, sister. I love your vibe.
Thanks. Yeah, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Laura.
So grateful that you have been able to meet today. Claudio, I had mentioned Rose and obviously Bobbi, and now to have Zelda, Elle, and Dionysus in here as well. The tribe grows, and it's because we start to know who's in the realm with us, so that we can actually connect and do the very thing that, Bobbi, when we were talking after the last call about the connection between mental health, addiction, psychic abilities, and homelessness, that generated quite the crowd, because people are so impacted by mental health. And this morning at yoga, I actually was speaking to a woman whose 14-year-old tried to commit suicide earlier this year. And I said, wow, please, let's connect, and let's connect with your daughter as well. And, or not daughter, they, so like someone that's in the gender queries because of their age, stage, relatability. And it's just like, what is happening to the young ones right now, I believe, is because the sacred ones, or just sacredness generally, the respect for the sacred has been lost, largely because the sacred became secret in the process of kicking any of the support staff out of the ranks, that people then were able to give thanks to those that helped them heal themselves, but instead then took the credit because the larger beast had to get it. In terms of the system, that the one acting as a middleman or agent then has to give credit to, because there is a disconnect between their ability to actually be the guide without taking credit for it. That's what the system requires to be fed, I think. I think something just came up in Bobbi's realm, and
yeah, sorry.
I saw your eyes go big to something that I was saying, and then I see that maybe there was something else happening in your space. And
sometimes when I do this, I can get too much energy.
Yeah.
And I vomit.
Oh.
Yeah, it happens when I do fairs and when I'm around a lot of psychic people and around a lot of psychic energy. It makes my solar plexus chakra go wow, and I vomit. So I apologize. I had to excuse myself to go do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I didn't for me make off, so I apologize for that as well.
Well, didn't hear what was happening, so it wasn't a gross experience for us. an interesting one to have brought forward because it's real.
Yes.
And you recollect yourself and you carry on, and you don't judge yourself for the thing that shows up in the moment when the topic brought a lot of energy forward, because this whole dysmorphia of identity is ultimately what we're actually talking about. Because
Yeah,
the wordplay on witchcraft, and witchcraft are we talking about here? That's been lost in the spelling of the system that has a likeness and image of all things, because the likeness and image of the thing is not the thing itself, but there has somehow been a disconnect in that, and I actually believe I've tracked it back to the founding of Western ideology, which has the ideological state apparatus adults play in, and children too, that's upheld by repressive state apparatuses that are essentially the apparatuses played on in parks or school grounds, then become adult frameworks that are mental in nature. Because Aristotle's student, St. Thomas Aquinas, actually created 4 versions of the law that were taken from Hermes Trismegistus's work. And because Hermes had talked about mentalism as the first law, human law, by St. Thomas Aquinas's definition, was then limited to have natural law, divine law, and then eternal law be the 4 forms of law that we have gotten drawn into, not seeing that the Holy See have come in unseen. And if you questioned that, the Inquisition would then question you in the past. So that was my realization yesterday, where natural law comes from, as to why common law is actually outside of that. And then nowadays, if you use a common law argument and you don't know how to maintain your standing, a conversion of a status will be applied of organized pseudo-legal commercial argument litigant, which changes your standing to now be a status, which means you don't have the ability to stand as real when you're then implied to be a status that you kneel to because the Inquisition forced you to, and all of the other henchmen that were sent out by the ideology's liege lord, and then the lord's vassals and villeins under that, within the structure of the house that we've all been playing in, which is still Rome.
Okay, and that actually even speaks to the fact that Claudio has to edit the way he presents himself to people, because some people will run away. It's like when I tell people I'm a medium, some actually step closer and some actually will step away from me. The ones who step away from me, I find such a giggle. The closer ones is like, no, I'm not going to talk to your grandmother right now. That's usually the way what happens is that people are like, oh, tell me. Yeah. And okie dokie. And it's funny that you bring up the Inquisition, because one of the founders of the Inquisition, or members, I guess, of the Inquisition, is the one who wrote the Witch's Hammer, the Malleus Maleficarum, which was at that time, besides the Bible, the most studied book in Europe. And that book, oh my goodness, as a woman, you should read this about yourself. Holy cow, we might as well be annihilated. We're horrible. The world is a better place without women. That's pretty much what the book says. So the Malleus Maleficarum actually sent it from witch hunting to woman hunting. Like so much more to women hunting. They would, if Claudio and I were sitting on a bench, they'd grab me, not him, because he has a wiener and I do not. And so I agree with you on this. And I actually think that my entire, what you're saying is the reason why sometimes I don't feel as listened to professionally as I should be. I used to not feel as though I should be listened to as professionally as others are. But now I know for sure I am. I've had enough people tell me that I am doing a better job for them than their psychiatrist. And that does sound really egocentric, and I do apologize for it. But it's not that, it's that when I deal with somebody, I get told stuff that they really actually need to know. And it's such huge stuff that I don't remember it. Honestly, you could come for a reading with me, and 3 hours later, I could see you in the mall and I wouldn't remember you. I might kind of know that I knew you somehow, but they'll take everything out of my brain. Partly because it's none of my darn business, it's other people's business. And partly too, because the messages that I am receiving aren't mine. They're somebody else's, and they're being presented so that individual can rise and lift themselves. So we all have our own individual lifting that we need to do. We all have our individual journey, as you say, and it's all rooted in history, as you say, because I don't know if you guys have the same view I do. Actually, now that I do this and this, I don't know if actually Laura and Claudio are on everybody's screen on either side of me. So anywho, the point is that puts a striking of fear within us. That thought that, oh my goodness, what if they're right? What if those priests are right and that woman was evil and she did need to burn? And I have those same inclinations. And what if I need to burn? Oh, wow. Yeah. A very large part of my life has been like that. An enormous part of my life has been like that because I was born like this. I've always been like this. Me actually using it as my profession and what I do for other human beings is because I am compelled to do so. I believe very much it's in my social contract with you that I am here. It's my spiritual contract, my social contract, and my individual contract. I'm here to help you guys. That's what I'm here for. And I know that sounds, again, that sounded super egocentric. I'm here to help you guys. I'm here to help all of us because I'm part of you and you are part of me. Does that make sense? And I couldn't do it without you. Could not possibly do it without you. When you see a psychic on YouTube that says that they're channeling some famous person, they probably aren't because they don't know them and they don't have a person there with them. We need that connection. If I'm going to talk to Laura's grandmother, I need Laura. I need her to be on board. The messages aren't for me, they're for Laura. Does that make sense? We all need each other in that beautiful, beautiful way. And we are all here to serve each other in the way, because every one of you is psychic. Each and every one of us is psychic. Mine's just glaring and on the tip of my nose so that I can go, oh my God, look at that. I was born this way. And with the mental health, it would be like, it's kind of funny, which tip of your nose, the Lord, anyway. The mental health thing, because I was told I was a schizophrenic. 7 years old, and they said, let's drug this little child and make the people go away, because I said I see people and I hear voices and things like that. Thankfully, my grandmother was one of those people. She wasn't even dead, but she still helped me out. She still spoke through me. She was in a coma at the time. But I believe very strongly if I'd had different parents, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be this person. I might even be gone. I might have already OD'd, done away with myself, or become so addled with the drugs because the lower levels are always there. They're in all of our heads. We choose to believe the lower levels or to reach for the light. And the lower levels tell you to do things that are awful. I know this firsthand, and I also know that does sound like I have an opening within my mental health, but I do, dadgummit. I absolutely do. I just don't think it is a negative. I think it is a positive and allows me to discern between what I should be looking at, or no, what is better for my contract and my contract with you guys, myself, and with the powers that be, or what will actually, they want me to say, what is laziness? That's actually what they want me to say, which I can understand what they mean by that with the laziness. I hope that makes sense.
So basically, you can either make a choice of a higher frequency to do what is best for self, others, and the higher powers that we come from, are part of, and are observing us play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can do a lower frequency activity that would limit us in a way that we wouldn't if we were at a higher frequency, and laziness is the driving cause of that choice.
Yeah, laziness is an incorrect word because it's a derogatory word. I shouldn't use that word, but at the same time, that's actually the way
Patience.
I would.
Patience.
Patience is good. Patience,
Because we think we're lazy, we don't want to work on something, but sometimes it's just not time and we got to be patient.
or we don't know how. We're never ever given the tools to work on these sorts of things, which is unfortunate because we're raised by humans. You take a flawed thing and you ask it to make a perfect thing. It's going to make a flawed thing because it's a flawed thing. It's not perfect. Yeah, I raised my children with my spirit guides. I raised them with the thoughts in my head because I actually believe I owe my children, to be perfectly honest. Because I believe I have had past life with them and it's my fault they're back. So, and if you choose the lower level, you are destined to repeat.
Did you say you feel you own your children?
Oh,
You owe your children.
OWE, yes, yeah. I have these I do what I call downloads, where I'll lay in a salt tub and ask to know things, or I'll walk through nature and ask to know things. I ask to know things all of the time, like why? Why? And I actually believe that I was a soldier in China during the Spanish flu, and that my children were my soldiers and they passed because of something I didn't do correctly. And that's why they're my children now. And I can't believe I'm even telling you guys this because it's very private. And because I spend a lot of time with the 12 people that I talk to in my head. So I thought it was kind of neat that Dionysus and Claudio were talking about 12. So I've never understood why it's 12 because I love odd numbers, not even ones. I'm more of an odd number woman. 3, 7, 5, those are my numbers. 11. But yeah, 17 is whatever. Anywho, so yeah, when I discuss it with them, they show me certain things, and I believe that those things are real, but also up to interpretation of this mind now, because I'm not the same person I am every time I come down here. It's just the soul is the same. The mind is different. I put on a different meat suit and a different language and a different everything. I believe the constant is the soul. This very old soul that's like, get it right this time. I'm bloody tired. That's what I swear I hear from my higher self.
You're not alone in that.
I don't think I am alone in that. I think a lot of people know that they are an eternal soul and they're just walking around in a meat suit and an identity this time.
Mm-hmm.
Just agreement. Okay. I wondered if you wanted to say more, Dionysus.
No, I've been just giving space for everyone.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here, and TW or TLW, it's nice to have you here as well. Welcome to the call. We had an issue earlier with a unknown, so I just thought I'd acknowledge and make sure there's no trouble to be had for when another exciting part of the conversation happens and an inappropriate element gets added in unnecessarily if it's not addressed. So it's great to have you here, and we ask that you play kindly with us as we are with others also. So with that being said, we are beyond the hour, and I did ask for an hour and a half-ish so that we could go to new territory, and sometimes it feels at the hour mark that we've just gotten to really great content and then it's just like, oh, done. So I like the hour and a half time frame, but I also really appreciate the fact that when you were speaking about your experiences and how you did see things others didn't, and that you had someone able to advocate for you, Bobbi, that you were able to unfold organically instead of in a medicated or altered way, which is what we're experiencing with the youth that was mentioned previously with the 14-year-old attempting to exit the matrix. And then what would come back if she doesn't close the gap as to what she needs to do or they need to do while they're here. And then that whole element of confusion brought in when speaking about, yeah, if you want to play dirty, then you don't get to stay, or you factor yourself out, is the funny part. Because if you acknowledge it, then it gets dealt with, because then it's just not on. And so the game is done because it's already been called, which then takes back to the whole confusion element and the fact that within the public thing, which is the res publica of the republic, which became an empire in disguise, we actually would know if we were taught outside of law school, which is the craft of law, that you are actually dealing with noyas in the premeditation, the post-meditation, and then there's another one. I forget what they are, but within each of the three offices, first, second, and third, you have noyas. So we're only really familiar with talking about the paranoia that we feel when we're anxious because we think something's around us. But pronoia is actually an element of law. We're just not taught about the noia as a suffix that has pres and prefixes that go before it. So
Yeah.
I know this is out there, but why I bring it in here is because confusion is the way that we then fuse our ions to the con. And the con is always for the consciousness that will allow, through rationalization with a ration of lies, to push down our conscience for the con of science with a $sign through the line, which is part of the ideologies that we have been under the rule of through Rome without knowing where home really was, except for the adage that all roads lead to Rome. And so then we should have known that was home, except for it's not homey, it's just very homely from my experience and linguistic presentation of an idea. So next.
I think that's a great interpretation of the idea. Now, okay, so it's interesting because when you speak of Rome, I see the beginning of human, I want to say thought process, but people were thinking before Rome began. But Rome, would it signify Renaissance or new ideas and the culmination of art, ideas, and philosophy?
From my perspective, and I saw Claudio have a smirk. So if you unmute anyone in the gallery, then I'll know that you have an idea to share. Just before you share your piece, I would say that it goes back to, as I shared about St. Thomas Aquinas and Aristotle and Socrates being the alleged founder of Western philosophy, and every other figurehead who coined the tale that their coin told. So what you're talking about, where Rome starts, humanity or rationality, it goes back to the fact, from my perspective, in Aquinas's coinage of law generally, that it brought in the element of God as mind, as did Hermes Trismegistus, and rationality and reason being valued as the source of creation in us, which was to then make the mind ultimate and utmost compared to the heart.
Ah, I see.
Beautiful.
All right, that makes sense. So thought is the driving force rather than feeling is the driving force.
Absolutely. And do not feel, or you might actually heal something. And if you heal something, you're not as profitable. And certainly you might become the prophet with the PH, which is where the D comes in to go to school to get the PhD, instead of seeing that we are the prophets with the PH that don't need a D, because D was bad, right? Just kidding. Claudia?
Wow.
Yeah. So when you So the Phoenix goes around every 558 years. She spends the most time in Aries, and the next second biggest one is in Pisces. And then it's different. So when the sun meets with Eris, Isis, whatever you want to call the witch, at the stations of the cross, when Jesus meets in the stations of the cross, that's when he meets with the mother at the cusp. So there's 12 energetic cusps, and the 12 comes from the chromatic scale. It's part of harmony. Okay, it's the max throw of a field. So that's why you keep seeing 12. So this cycle happens. So Rome is yet just another cycle of when the sun meets with the mother on the station of the cross. Now that we've seen all astrologers and all of the astronomers in the world have always looked for when she returns, because the story of Isis is she goes into the underworld. They can't see that little light that's in the sky that moves ever so slowly and goes back and forth, retrograding direct, every 5.5 and 7.5 months. Or sorry, 5.5 and 6.5 months. So she's just doing that. And when she grabs a hold of you in your chart, it's a long time because she goes that small, so that's slow. So when you start going there to all these stations of the cross, and I created a whole great big calendar, now you can see all the different reigns of kings in Egypt, but they're not literal. They're states of being. So is there going to be a person that made his story and somebody went and then put that there? It's possible. But there's going to be billions or millions or whatever, many more of those people that feel that same way. So Rome is just another era of us on the stations of the cross. We're infinite. Get over it. You're absolutely infinite. And when you know this, you can be brave. And if you're getting something that gives you lack of bravery, then it's you. If something's telling you, I need to forgive something. The beauty about doing astrology and medical astrology, because it's bang on, it's exact same remedy. Everybody's remedy is the same. Ho'oponopono. Forgive me. Ask for forgiveness is the first step. Because I've shared this before. If you place yourself in a pond that's perfectly still on a perfectly still day, and it's like a mirror, you pick up a rock, you throw it in the middle of the pond. The waves come at you. That's time. Whether it's an hour, a minute, lifetimes, those waves eventually hit you in the shins. Your rock, your action, your wave finds you. You're the receiver of your past actions always. Always. So when we know this, now you get this great strength. I choose when I leave, nobody else does. And all these messages that I feel is because of me. And then the symptom, no matter what it is forgiveness. I had a bowel twist last night. I knew something was going on. And I've had these before where they've put me in the hospital. So I watched it in my chart, and it was Lilith. Because I know Lilith, and Lilith is temptations. I've overcome that. But that's why I didn't have to go to hospital. It ended up clearing, but I knew it was going to be done by 2:00 in the morning. And lo and behold, I fell asleep around 2:30. So it's all there, but I gave it forgiveness. But then she sends me a gift. The dog across the street barks, tells me to go look at the end of my mortgage. And end of the mortgage, when you go read it, it says you can get your money back anytime. In code, but it's there. It's so simple. So Lilith gives great gifts when we overcome temptations. But anyway, trying to bring that all back around again, it's us on the circle. So Rome is just us in a certain mindset, a certain vibration that's there. And it all really depends where the mother's at on the station of the cross. So the word Egypt comes from the word Gypt, which means foremothers and forefathers. It can be anywhere, but usually it's there. So the word Gypt just means we left a message in the bottle for us, and we rebuild those pyramids over and over and over again, because every 24,000 years, we're about to fall into the Piscean age where we lose our way. Right? But you can see it's coming back because look at the collective consciousness. We have the ethernet, not internet, it's the ether, and the ether is pure love. So the collective consciousness is getting together because we used to be able to see, like some of you already do, we used to be able to see without any electronics, and we will again. But right now, it's the baby steps. we're going to go back to leaving languages and go back to images, because images are your or. Your images is what steers you, because images are in action, because they manifest. So make sure your images are pure. So I'll leave it at that.
Images are the oars. What is the boat then?
Sorry. The images are your oars, yeah, because it steers you. Well, the boat is this vessel, right? Because the body never lies. Our body is 100% our past actions. The conscious mind holds lies and truths. And now with this loving energy coming down, we're on revelation. Revelation just happened in the sky. It's beautiful. So Moses parting the waters is us using images, loving images, and that parts all waters, right? And then the forgiveness comes in there too. So please, everybody here, forgive me for not being the loving man I should have always been. I make that a daily practice. Thank you for your guidance. I forgive you for delivering my karma, because if I don't, then it's going to come back to you and I've not done any service to the team. I love you. And now I imagine we're all going to go forward in this beautiful, loving way and create heaven back on earth again. So I make this a practice to say that to everyone, because everyone that's in your life, we need to ask each other for forgiveness. Mama's putting us in a room together. She's saying, you kids don't come out of the room until you're done apologizing to each other. No, I don't want to. No, right? It's the same thing now. So no matter what's in your life, do the Ho'oponopono, but people always forget the first one. Ask for forgiveness, because you're the pebble thrower.
And they don't know about the fifth step, to repaint.
Repaint it. Thank you. Right. With your images. So if you had it, like something happened over there to me, right? Or if I did something, that comes back into my mind. I do the whole thing and then I repaint it. My go-to is we're all sitting around playing guitar together. Hey, everything's good. You're repainting it. That's noise canceling headphones. The old waves that we're able to pick up come in many forms, right? Those waves, if they're not beautiful, need to be owned by you. Do that whole process, repaint it, because you are the owner of your world and you don't allow that in your world. So you kill it with love, that old vibration. And it works in physics. And you can see Dr. Emoto doing it with water. So our waters are muddy from the past 2,000 years. We got to clean them up.
And stop bringing our ideas of ourselves that are broken and disenfranchised and weaker or weakened from the journey with us. It's like taking all of those ideas, and for anyone else that had a reinvention in 2019 like I did, when I became aware of the illusions of this reality and tried to report it to participants in it, and then realized that was not the best for my interest, nor anyone else's, because I just became the girl who cried wolf, which is very akin to this topic today generally about witchcraft are we practicing, which is the second version of this call, I think, that needs to be happening. Because once we've talked about witchcraft were people persecuted for previously, in his story, our story, the story that we've heard about those that rose to the top and then got their heads lopped off, because that's what happens to the tallest tree that overshadows the rest in the forest, that a tender would be able to render you similar to everyone else, lest you rise above and then overshadow and limit somebody else in your midst, which is where collectivism comes in, compared to individualism, which is where we can actually be ourselves authentically instead of needing to use herd mentality to conform to the norms of the times, versus actually seeing how your rhymes can take us different places if that's the way that you like to speak, as I do, which is unlikely, though not an impossibility, because I am unique, as is every single one of us who are here. And finding out where the links are between the different kinks that have made us unique is how we really do the seemingly impossible. of putting an apostrophe into the I am possible. So that impossible now has a different meaning, because we just see they missed a little sign, which Claudio says is the oars, and the body is the measurement of time within this matrix and the paradigms, that we're believing the false matrix of good and evil, compared to seeing that the good and evil is ultimately in each of us. So the whole concept or notion of eliminating the evil players that played dirty games and did evil things, I'm not condoning any of that. And yet, if we take out those players, those are aspects and fragments of us that are no longer part of the whole, which means then those energies have to be reintegrated into the mix of us who are left in order for us to get the lessons that each of us uniquely carry.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
The crux is we are here actually professing the need for more love and to use love as a power under the fear power that actually brought us to where we are right now. The witch hunts were completely and absolutely based within fear. It was an us and them. And not to pinpoint a particular religion, but okay, I'll go ahead and do it. Christianity itself is based on a good and evil ideology. And they have actually even when you look at how, I believe it was Claudius, that the Pope at the time, who would explain paganism, explain Norse mythology, explain these different ideologies or belief systems that people had prior to Christianity as hierarchies. Making Odin the top god in Norse mythology is completely incorrect. Thor is right at the same height as Odin. Odin isn't the king, but they needed to have the king and the sun, and they needed to have that triad to reflect the triad that they were giving, the Father, Son, Holy Ghost, which is made in Mother Crone, in my opinion. They also, you even cite it in Egyptian culture, it's in Celtic culture, it's in so many cultures where the sun dies. And the mother that brings in the sun, and the sun dies for the good of the people. Kronos, the son of the goddess in Celtic culture, dies and is the king of the underworld, the horned god that they made the devil, because he's king of the underworld, blah, blah, it all worked really well for them. Anywho, that sort of ideology comes in too. So what we actually have to relieve ourselves of is this fear of each other. This fear that if you can do something, you might do it against me. Rather than if you can do something, maybe you can show me the thing I can do, and the two of us can do it together. And then therefore, we're actually bringing this whole beautiful place up, 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 up. Like poor Joan of Arc, for goodness sakes. She freed her people from tyranny, and then her people burnt her because the construct that they gained on her getting rid of those who were actually keeping the French people under a rule that was not their own. Then the French people got their own rule, and then they switched on her. Why the heck did that happen? Why did the people of France burn poor Joan? Yeah, she said, God told me to do this. And then they said, oh, thank you very much for the information. Oh, by the way, die. That's kind of what happened. So why the heck did that happen to poor Joan of Arc? Started the whole burning. It actually started, yeah, it made it okay in the 1400s to start burning women. Then the Malleus Maleficarum followed it in another, 25 years, something like that. So it can't happen again. We cannot allow it to happen again. We have to lead with love. We have to actually, oh gosh, this is going to sound so incredibly. I just posted a video about love on my YouTube channel. Didn't even know I was supposed to talk about love, but because that's what happens. I start my videos and all of a sudden I go, oh, that's not what we're talking about. We're going to talk about this, but it's actually this. My point is, I agree with you, but I wonder, I worry, and I shouldn't worry, because that just adds more to that power of the negativity that I do not want to see happen again. But at the same time, are we ready? We were not ready in 2020. 2020, not only did I know, I actually had something rupture on the base of my skull, and it's still there, a big lump, which is right where the two snakes meet, where my third eye and crown chakra actually meet. To me, it was all so obvious. And your body, your boat, does never lie to you. But I kind of think it doesn't just tell you the history, but maybe it does tell you the history. Maybe actually the reaction you're having is based on what you have seen. So it does tell you the history. Thank you. Okay. I was going to disagree, but I completely and absolutely agree, actually, the more I talk. Okay, that's what I had to say. I love witchcraft, and I'm going to continue calling myself a witch, even though the moniker itself comes from the persecutors. The hat, everything, the cackle, my broom, I still use it.
Image.
Image, exactly, image.
The image of witchcraft was created by the persecutors, which draws us back into Hiero's prism, where we have the victim, rescuer, or hero that can save the damsel in distress because the woman can't do it for herself. And then from the punisher or the persecutor that is after her for her power or for her virtue or her innocence or that inner sense that would actually help her to see through the deceptions. Because that maiden mother crone archetype, when I was in a very expanded state, I was talking about that triad as myself, but not using it in one or the other, but actually saying that I was the mother maiden and crone, not a mother in flesh, but understanding I was tuning into the responsibility my soul has for those that do not have the responsible parent in their own throne of their boat, the one that is calling the shots and directing the oars. We have a hero complex in this realm, it seems, where we have been trying to save everyone else, and it's very easy to get caught up in the fear. But if we are worried about saving anyone else or doing something in a reactive way, we're still putting energies into it, as you had said, Bobbi. So given we are at the hour and a half, I want to remind you that when you were talking before you got distracted by worry of that which will not happen again, because we are here to ensure it doesn't, you had mentioned a Facebook post that you had seen about love. If that prompts you into something that you might wish to close off today's session with, and to also let people know how they can reach you as well, since that's a very important element to all of this. And obviously, I would love for everyone to share your details so that we who are here are able to get that information, and those who weren't here this time but would like to be here for the next call, we haven't yet scheduled, but I would love to, about which craft are we practicing. I think that would be an incredible topic to dive into deeper. So I'm going to throw it over your way, Bobbi, to have final points before we wrap it up and everyone can say a piece, and then we'll close out.
Okie dokie. All right. I think what I was mentioning was I have a YouTube channel where I do videos, and I do not do them alone. I do them with all the friends in my head. And I posted one today about love, and it's actually how to meet the love of your life, just so I can trick people. Because you are the love of your life. It's Born Medium. It's actually Bobbi Rowntree Born Medium. That's why I keep the Born Medium here. I don't know why I named myself that. I just did because I was born as a medium. I think because I was born this way. So, and it is about self-love, and it is about the fact that you need to learn to love yourself first before you can share love with other folks, because then you're just getting your self-loathing upon them or looking to them for the self-love that you actually need to provide yourself. And within that self-love ideology, in my opinion, when you start looking at yourself and knowing yourself, then you actually start to see your psychic abilities and why you're here and what you are here to do and here for, because that's what I have discovered. And yeah, it was mental illness for me until I actually moved into it as a medium and started meditating. And that's what my channel's for people to look at different videos that might have pertain to what's going on inside of your head. So here to serve. I say that far too often, but I kind of think it's true.
Yeah. Elle, I saw you were unmuted. Or anyone else, if you'd like to unmute or say anything before we go. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it is 3:33. That's wonderful.
I just love it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. I believe Celestine prophecy is afoot, so we all have keys, and we're all just going to share it together. It's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Amazing to
I
have
just
you.
also want to say, oh, so sorry. Go ahead.
No, you carry on, please.
I just wanted to say thank you for sharing this space, and it was great meeting everyone here, and I look forward to coming back.
Hey, how did you find us on Meetup?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm glad you're in there, and that's where I'll be sharing the next event as well. And Elle is making her appearance officially.
I'm trying. Hi, everyone. I don't know how to, I keep touching it. Okay, anyway, hi.
Hey.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. This is so amazing. I'm enjoying all of these connections and the information. It's mind-boggling, but I'm really grateful. It's I want to know more. I want to keep on keeping on with all of you. And thank you, everybody who contributed. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Elle. That's wonderful. Rose, Zelda, would you like to put anything into the space before leaving? It's not required, but if you wish to, you can unmute. And your presence here was very much appreciated, and the energy you brought, absolutely epic. Okay, wonderful. Well, that's perfect. Okay, we've got emails in the comments there. So if you want to save the chat, you just click the bottom 3 dots, and then at the top of that little menu, it says save chat. If you haven't done it before, that is how you do that. And I am so grateful. Claudio and I are doing a call on April 1st. Not a Fool's Day joke. But it's going to be epic because we are going to be talking about the major arcana in relation to the sacred sojourn of the soul that I wrote about in my book, Fully Committed. And so really looking forward to that, and whether that is the next call time. Or Bobbi, you wanted to say?
When was that at on April 1st?
Did we say 2 o'clock? I don't have it on top of mind, but I did actually think of that. Oh, April 1st. 10:10 a.m. So that would be your 7 a.m. Sorry to say. She's in BC.
I'm in Vancouver Island.
Absolutely beautiful. I look forward to getting to experience that. Yay. Okay, so next call is scheduled, and final blessings of this day have been issued, and appreciate everyone for being here despite issues for a brief time that was not the result of any of us, but maybe reflections of things for all of us to look into as to why. So I appreciate each of you, and I'll wish you a wonderful day.